So, The Last of Us Episode 8 aired this week, and it was an extremely faithful adaptation until the very end of the episode. I'll be talking about the change and what I think about it after I break down other elements of the episode. And please let me know what y'all thought of the episode in the comments. Y'all ready? Let's go. I'm glad we didn't get a sudden bunny death at the beginning of this episode, although there was certainly plenty of tears by the end of it. We got to see Troy Baker, not as Joel this time, but as a man named James, who seems to be the right-hand man of the cult leader David. I might call him Jim a few times in this review, so I'm really sorry if I fall into that. We see David and his cult members praying over the death of a fellow member, Alec. It soon becomes clear that David and his people are running out of food. They picked a real bad place to settle for the winter. It looks too cold to grow any crops, and animals are sparse or they're maybe just not very good hunters. And this is where my dark sense of humor started coming in. I smirked at the fact that they were going to eat Alec. And that's the real reason David didn't want to bury him till spring. I do like the idea of the cult eating their dead. It is grotesque, but it also shows desperation and how low human beings will go to survive. When Ellie shoots the deer, her kill is intercepted by David and James. I don't know if the deer was worth messing with two grown men Ellie doesn't know. I know hindsight's 20/20, but the assumption that these men could overpower her or maybe have a settlement nearby that would later come after her is one worthy of making. But I guess this is also showing how desperate they all are. And perhaps Ellie still has some naivete and some things to learn about when to lay low. Or perhaps it was just her violent heart that made her do it. We'll get back to that later. Ellie learns that David has medicine that could help Joel. She learns that he was a teacher turned preacher. This is not the only time I've seen teacher to madman. In The Walking Dead, Negan was a teacher/coach of a high school before becoming a madman of the apocalypse. We also find out that Joel is responsible for the death of Alec. Alec was the man who stabbed him in episode 6. We also get a scene where the cult members are just loving the taste of Alec. Ellie starts giving Joel the penicillin, but he's still looking rough. And unfortunately, David and his men are coming after them. Ellie runs to divert attention away from Joel, but she's captured. Joel, meanwhile, has recovered enough from his injuries to knife Duck Dynasty in the basement. He catches 2 of David's men, and in this scene we really see how cruel Joel can be, especially given how much he cares about Ellie. He ties the men up and asks one to point to their settlement with the bloody knife, and he tells him it better be the same place your buddy says. But I'm thinking, isn't his buddy gonna see the little bloody point on the map?
You're gonna point to where we are and where your resort is.
But Joel leaves no strings. We see that Ellie has been locked behind bars by David. He asks her if she... I'm sorry. He asks her if she's hungry. Absolutely not.
What is it?
For what it's worth, this is just deer meat, I swear.
Ellie sees some of Alec on the floor, and it doesn't take her long to figure out what they've been up to.
You're gonna chop me up into little pieces.
And I'm really sorry. I'm sorry, but I laughed when David said, "You think this doesn't shame me?"
Think it doesn't shame me?
Oh, buddy.
If you want to judge me...
Judge you? You're eating people!
He tells Ellie that she's smart, among other things, and that she's a natural leader. I'm not sure what he's seeing there. If anything, Ellie's more of a lone wolf with very few loyalties. But he also says she has a violent heart, which seems true, especially taking the second game into account. Oh, and on a side note, pretty cool to shack up in a resort during the apocalypse. Just like in Sweet Tooth. I'm always imagining what kind of building would be cool to convert into an apocalypse shelter. Libraries, high-rises, oh, bridges. If you took over a bridge, that could easily give you control in like a trade situation, and a bridge would be easily defendable because you would only have to barricade the front and the back, and you wouldn't have to worry about attack from the sides. Now we come to the subtle but effective ending change. In the game, Joel comes to Ellie's rescue as she violently stabs David. He pulls her off him and comforts her. In the show, Ellie has already drawn herself away from David and encounters Joel outside. Joel still gets the opportunity to comfort her, but it is Ellie who pulls herself away from David, and not Joel. It's not a big change, but it speaks volumes, whether intended or not. It shows how strong Ellie can be. I know we see a lot of examples of this in Game 1 and 2, but David may be the worst person that Ellie meets. He's certainly the worst person she's met up to this point. That she is able to pull herself out of that dark place shows that she may have a violent heart, but it will not consume her. I would argue that David is a good foil character for both Ellie and Joel. With Joel, it's more obvious because they're both in father figure roles. Joel as Ellie's guardian, and David as the preacher or father of his cult.
I know you think you don't have a father anymore, but the truth is, Hannah, you will always have a father, and you will show him respect when he's speaking.
But David displays all the traits that a father shouldn't be. He is a cold and evil man. And although Joel can get violent, he does have a heart. For Ellie, David acts as a foil too. They both have violent hearts, but Ellie can control hers. She's able to walk away from David's body and doesn't let anger and fear consume her. In all these instances, we see violence, but the difference is intent. For Ellie and Joel, the violence is to protect themselves or someone they love. But David acts callously. He talks of revenge when searching for Ellie and Joel. But this echoes an attitude Ellie will have to overcome again in Game 2. Her ability to walk away from David's body sets up the mindset shift she'll have to have in Season 2. If Season 2 is Game 2. Of course, the scenes with David seemed a lot shorter than they did in the game. This happens a lot through the entire series, but we did get Kathleen for 2 episodes and David for only 1. The fight scenes in this episode were very good. And ironically, Ellie kills Joel in this episode. So we have 1 episode left, y'all. What did y'all think of episode 8? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and if you liked the video, don't be afraid to subscribe. Bye, y'all.